Well, with us in the studio now is the Syrian Ambassador to the UK, Sami Khiyami. This plot your president was talking about today, who's behind it?
First of all, Jeremy, thank you for inviting me. And I'm flattered to be the president's man in London, but I am to be called the Syrian Ambassador.
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's a one-party state, it's a one-family state.
It is not a one-party state. It is not a one-family state. It is the nicest and most beautiful state in the Middle East.
Okay.
And
well, now you've got that off your chest. Tell us about this plot. Who's behind it?
I think all those who thought that Syria is at a time where it will cash in the result of the revolutions that happened in Egypt and Tunisia, the changes that happened in the Arab world, were about to help the Syrian position a lot concerning towards Israel and towards the expansionist policies of Israel. And at this particular time, when Syria was going to group all Arab countries in the same line around the Arab initiative, Land Against Peace, we see trouble starting in Syria. So I think there are parties, whether in the West, whether in Israel, whether among the fundamentalists, who are interested in seeing a destabilization of Syria.
Basically, it's the Israelis behind it, is it?
I'm sorry?
Is it the Israelis behind it? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the Israelis could be behind it. They could be behind any bad thing in the world.
You see, I mean, it's interesting. In the text of this very long speech that he gave, he doesn't deny that there has been unrest, and he doesn't deny that there has been bloodshed. He doesn't
deny, too, that there are legitimate demands of many of the people who were demonstrating, but that ultimately they were gradually infiltrated by those who wanted unrest and those who wanted to destabilize the country. I think most of the Syrian people, Jeremy, are extremely sad about what happened in Daraa, for example. And I think that the people who did it are going to be accountable.
How many people were killed in Daraa, do you know?
In Daraa, yes, we got from the news information that says that in Daraa itself about 25 people were killed and 3 or 4 security men.
So he accepts that people have legitimate demands. And he also says, doesn't he, in his speech, whoever wants reform, we are here. Now, what sort of reforms is he thinking of?
Well, he's thinking of a reform that is well studied, that is not done hastily just because some foreign powers are putting pressures on Syria. We have been living, since we started the reform process, we have been living under continuous pressures. First, it was the Hariri case, and before that, the infiltration through the borders of Iraq, and then problems with the West, until now we have started with the problem of the unrest in Syria.
I was just wondering if he thought maybe, you know, after 48 years of emergency rule, it might be time for a change of tack.
Anyway, even if the emergency rule is lifted, which is going to happen, he promised that, even if the emergency is lifted, we still need, like the UK, an anti-terrorist rule.
What do you think
essentially, when we have an anti-terrorist rule, we will not need an emergency rule anymore.
Well, do you think he might think about giving up torture as well? Do you think he might think about giving up torture as well?
To Israel? Of course not.
No. In Syria, in your own country, which, as you know, is roundly condemned by the United Nations, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and numerous other organizations.
I think he gave clear orders not to harm any demonstrator, that does not shoot at people, that does not demolish private or public property. Essentially, all those who have been killed, except in the first day of the unrest, all those who were killed, whether security forces or civilians, were killed because they were shooting and they were shot at.
How could everyone else have got the wrong end of the stick, do you think?
Not everyone else, only those contacting the foreign media. But essentially, the people in Syria and even in neighboring countries are quite aware of the country.
Sure. So those who spoke to the official Syrian news agency were telling the truth and everyone else was really making it up?
No, absolutely not, Jeremy. I think there is a truth in every report. However, sometimes part of the truth is highlighted, while the rest of the truth is completely covered.
Ambassador, thank you very much.